Toward the start of the 21st 100 years, a third universal conflict breaks out and pulverizes the world. The excess survivors found Libria, a city where an extremist government known as the Tetragrammaton Board makes all residents take day-to-day infusions of prosium-2, which smothers feeling in. Energizes dutifulness. Whatever might invigorate feelings like craftsmanship and pets has been restricted, and those hoodlums that in all actuality do consume those things are called sense wrongdoers. In the event that they get found out, they're killed. In light of the fact that the chamber asserts the people who feel are the reason for all conflicts, to ensure that everybody observes these regulations, the committee shaped a gathering of thoroughly prepared champions known as ministers who battle utilizing the military craft of gunkata. Outside the city there is a neglected region called the Under, where the majority of the criminal behavior occurs. Presently pastors John and Errol along with their exceptional group are directing a strike to manage the most recent gathering of renegades from a gathering known as the Underground. The group finds that a lot of revolutionaries are blockading themselves inside a structure, so while they take part in a gunfight outside, John goes inside first with firearms in quite a while hands. He separates the entryway and simply holds up there in the obscurity, allowing the revolutionaries to fire and not getting injured even once. When the discharge stops, John utilizes his weapon to shoot every one of the radicals, utilizing the firearm kata strategy, which utilizes math and brain science to pick where to hit with accuracy and permits him to be out of the line of discharge. When everybody is dead, they scan the structure for unlawful material, and when they break the wood planks they find an enormous assortment of workmanship that incorporates the Mona Lisa. After they utilize a scanner to affirm they're genuine, John arranges his men to set everything ablaze. During their ride back to base camp, John sees that Errol took a book and asks him for what good reason. Errol makes sense of that the group will in general abandon some things, so he'll log this proof himself to stay safe with the records. In the meantime, in the city, the Pioneer Father shows up on screens wherever, reminding individuals to take prosium and that they've accomplished harmony because of the framework, which gets him a cheer from General Society. Father generally shows up on the screens, yet no one has seen him face to face in an extended period of time. At the point when John shows up at base camp, he promptly goes to see Bad Habit Direction DuPont to give his report, which acquires him high acclaim. DuPont considers how a minister has advanced so well to detect when somebody feels compelling feelings, so John clarifies he's learned for think like his adversaries. Then at that point DuPont gets some information about his family, and John icily lets him know that his significant other was captured and burned for being a sense guilty party a long time back. DuPont reprimands him for it, saying a pastor ought to have the option to tell his own significant other as a crook. A while later, John takes a gander at a recording of the vehicle and sees Errol acting dubiously. He goes to take a gander at the records and finds Errol hasn't been logging any proof for quite a long time, including the present book. He chooses to get back to the Under to search for himself and finds him perusing the book inside an unwanted church. At the point when John stands up to him, Errol regrets that individuals have lost all that makes them human. What's more, when John calls attention to that there is no conflict or murder now, Errol concedes that he happily addressed the cost to cause people to feel feelings once more. Then at that point Errol attempts to go after his weapon, however John is quicker and kills him first. Prior to leaving, he covers Oral's face with the book. Subsequently, John meets Brandt, who will supplant Oral as his accomplice and communicates his desires to become comparable to John. When John goes home, his son Robbie tells him that he saw a boy crying earlier and wonders if he should inform the authorities, so John says he should, although their father and son Robbie calls John by his name instead of Dad. Later in the evening, a sleeping John dreams of the day his wife was arrested. When the officers stormed into his house, John quickly disarmed two of them, but he stopped fighting as soon as they told him his wife was a sex offender. On her way out, his wife kissed him and asked him not to forget her. While their two kids watched the next morning while getting ready, John accidentally drops his vial of prosium on the floor and it breaks. When Robbie notices this, he reminds his father to stop by the Equilibrium Center to get a replacement. However, when John arrives at the center, he discovers that it's temporarily closed because of terrorist activity and that people must go to the center in another sector get their supply. At that moment, Brandt comes to pick him up for a mission, so John decides to go with him without telling him about his lack of today's prosium. Then John and Brandt go to see a woman named Mary and raid her house. John pushes Mary against the mirror, but he freezes when he's reminded of his wife. Luckily, he recovers fast, and after Brandt destroys the mirror because of its artistic frame, the officers demolish a wall to find a room filled with illegal objects. A desperate Mary takes a gun from an officer and aims at John, so Brandt tries to shoot her. However, John stops him, saying they can use her to get information about the underground. Afterward, Mary is taken to headquarters for interrogation. John asks her about the other rebels, but Mary ignores the questions and instead asks John about his purpose for living. John says his purpose is to keep their society running well, but Mary points out that it's circular logic. His purpose is only living to continue his existence. Before leaving, John watches the training of the recruits to put his mind at ease. That night, John does in his injection and watches how Errol's body is incinerated. However, he wakes up realizing it was a nightmare. Feeling strange, he runs to the window and peels away the tint on the glass, allowing him to watch the sunrise for the first time. Such a beautiful sight makes him feel lots of emotions like awe. When he realizes this, he rushes to the bathroom to grab the syringe gun. However, he can't bring himself to get the injection again. Then John leaves for work, but before entering headquarters he drops a bunch of prosium vials on the ground. To destroy them, he also takes off his glove and brushes his hand against another person just to know how it feels. In the office, he notices all desks are exactly the same and starts rearranging his things. Brandt sees this and asks him what's going on, but John tells him that he's just optimizing his space. Their next mission is to go after some sense offenders in the Netherlands. As they raid the place, the officers get stuck in a vicious gunfight against the rebels. A man tries to attack John, so Brandt shoots the guy. When John catches the guy, he accidentally stares into his eyes and sees the life leave the body. Upset by the things he's noticing now, he immediately drops the body, only to feel worse when he notices the blood on his hands. While the officers kill all the rebels, John discovers a secret room. He finds a vinyl record of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony and plays it while looking at a snow globe, but as soon as he hears the music, he's so moved that he drops the globe and starts to cry. Afterward, the team burns down everything and Brandt notices John is keeping a book. Remember, during Errol, John just says hell log it himself. Suddenly an officer announced as they've found some animals which turned out to be puppies. None of them understand why someone would keep animals in the house and even wonder if the rebels ate them. Brandt orders the officers to kill all the dogs and John tries to object, but he can't think of a good reason, so he has to second the order as the team shoots every dog with no mercy. One of the puppies manages to escape and runs to John, who picks it up and is shocked to have his face licked. An officer tries to take it back to finish the job, but John takes it away, saying it should be tested for diseases. Sometime later, John has a meeting with DuPont and argues against the murder of rebels, pointing out that they should be arrested and interrogated instead, as the law says. However, DuPont informs him that Father has released a mandate ordering officers to exterminate all rebels on sight. Afterward, John watches Mary for a while and decides to ask for the box with her belongings. Among other things, he finds a ribbon, and after smelling it, he decides to secretly keep it in the evening. He goes to the Nether, unaware that Brandt is following him. Once there, John tries to release the dog, but since it won't stop following him, he puts it back in the trunk. John even gives it his jacket and smiles at the little guy. At that moment, officers arrive at the area and surround him as they ask for an ID which John left in his coat. They take the car keys from him and are about to open the trunk, only for an officer to recognize John and apologize for the trouble. Unfortunately, the puppy uses the moment to yell, so the officers open the trunk, and as soon as they see the animal, they make John get down on his knees. However, John attacks the officers using their own weapons to kill them. There are more men waiting in the vehicles, so John attacks them as well, using the same technique to steal their weapons and kill them all in seconds. Then at that point he leaves with the pup. The following morning, John chooses to conceal his vials of prosium behind the restroom. Reflect prior to going to work today. Help prepare with his blade, and Brandt stops by to go along with him, beginning a well-disposed battle. Their abilities are practically on a similar level, and as they keep on trading blows, Brandt continues to insult John, saying he realizes John can't quit contemplating the baffling homicides in the Netherlands. He says he's happy those officials are dead, since now the committee will arrange a speed increase on the loss of dissidents. The battle closes in a tie, and afterward the team passes on to strike another area in the Netherlands while the group look E-region and takes part in another gunfight. John runs over a lot of revolutionaries, yet advises them to leave. The dissidents dread that John will shoot them toward the back, so he needs to lead them down a passage to track down a spot to stow away. Before long they start experiencing officials, yet John battles them all without a second thought, allowing the renegades an opportunity to get away after a furious battle during which he kills every one of the officials. John goes searching for the radicals just to find they've been gotten E-region and takes part in another gunfight. John runs over a lot of revolutionaries, yet advises them to leave. The dissidents dread that John will shoot them toward the back, so he needs to lead them down a passage to track down a spot to stow away. Before long they start experiencing officials. However, John battles them all without a second thought, allowing the renegades an opportunity to get away after a wild battle during which he kills every one of the officials. John goes searching for the radicals just to find they've been gotten